Okay, let's talk about screen sizes and the importance of knowing which size or sizes you're editing when you're working with Groove Pages. And it all centers around these 5 buttons at the top of your editor, which is the desktop, the laptop, the horizontal tablet, vertical tablet, and the mobile device size. So we have all of those that are available to edit at any given time. And the first thing we want to know is that if we want to just be adding things to everything and changing settings for everything, every screen, we have to highlight them all. So basically it's a cycle. Okay, so just click through them if you're not sure until you get the setting that you want. So the first thing to know is that when they're all highlighted again, we're editing styles and settings for every screen. As an example, I just set this up. This text right here, you can see it says it has been right justified. And if we go down here and we look, it has been changed. So instead of just being in the default mode where text is added, it has been modified up here on this highest level, which means that it was modified all the way down below. So anytime you are selected and the screens are selected below it, the changes you make are going to affect everything going down from there. So let's say we don't have them all selected. We just have the lower ones. We're just trying to change the lower settings right now, right? So we decided down here we'd like this to be centered. So we go and we center it, and we think we just changed it for these 3, but what we find out is up here it centered it as well. And here's the reason for that. From here on up, any of these that has not had any settings changed. Okay, so these were up here, we were at the default setting. It didn't have any settings explicitly chosen. When there's no settings explicitly chosen, it's going to change the screens up as well as down. So let me show you another example. So remember I said that this is right justified. So that is explicitly, sorry, I should click on it. That is explicitly chosen here. So now if I go down to this same setting, right, and I like it, I go to this and I decide, well, I want this to be left justified, you know, just as an example. So I moved it, in theory, I moved it for these 3 screens. And also, though, this screen should not have changed. You see how it stayed to the right? That's because it had been explicitly changed already. So now, here's the final thing about that. Remember we changed this to centered and we wanted it changed from here on down. So now we want everything above it to be back to the way it was. And you can simply do that by choosing the lowest screen you want to change right here. You don't have to have this upper one selected. You click on the element and we're going to make it right justified so we can just see the change. And it will change it up here as well. Because again, this one was set to the default setting. So screens below it are changing it. That is something to try to get your head around before you start changing screen sizes and changing settings in the screen sizes. Final thing, when you're doing a complete page build out, the thing to do is to set it up in desktop. And once you have it looking the way you want it in your desktop view, then you're going to start going down here and say from here on down, what does it look like here? Because typically, if you're going to, for example, change the size of an element, and maybe change the layout of an element, you're probably going to want it that way from there on down. So now we go here and we say, oh, that looks pretty good. And we go here and we say, oh, that doesn't, I mean, it's too large there. So from here on down, we're going to make the size a little smaller, right? And we would center and everything. And then down here, it looks good, right? So what we've done is we've changed this image. Now, notice what happened again. When I changed the size here, it changed it here because this one had not been explicitly changed, nor this one. So always keep in mind what you have selected and what impact it's going to have. If they're all highlighted, it's going to impact everything on down below that. If they're not highlighted above it, but the settings have not been explicitly changed, it's going to change the settings on these screens as well. So that, to be honest, that's a little bit confusing, but once you get your head around that, you're going to be able to create responsive sites without all of the frustration that many people go through.